All right, everybody, welcome to the first ever live broadcast of the Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast. With me, as always, is my brother Brian, and I'm Andy Matusi, and this is going to be a great show. As always, the show is presented by Xenopucks, great company over there, and we'll talk about them later. But we have a lot to get to today, and I want to get into it. So, Brian, how you doing, man?
I'm here.
Yeah, me too.
I've been having some internet issues this morning.
Yeah, that's all right. That's not we can't work through. We're very excited to be here. So I want to jump right into it. We got some playoff hockey we got to talk about, but the highlight of today's show is our guest that we have on today. So I'm going to give a very brief overview of his resume as to not butcher it. But our guest today is Robert Pizzini, and he is a award-winning CEO. He is also a huge hockey guy. He's a Navy Special Operations veteran. And he's also a best-selling author of the book, Elevate Your Leadership. I don't want to get into details without him here, so I'm going to bring him in. Everybody, it is my pleasure to welcome to the show, Bob Pizzini. If I can get him in here.
I would say add him in.
I'm trying. There we go.
Thanks for the applause, Brian. That's really noted.
Man, welcome to the show. It's good to have you here.
Hey, thanks, Andy and Brian, and congratulations on your Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast. You guys are full of energy, full of spice. And you've got you just have a great format, and I love listening to you. And congratulations on your sponsorship with Xenopucks. That's awesome.
Thank you. They've been very good to us, and I always try to return the favor to them. They're good people. So,
all right.
All right. Let's jump right into it. First things first. I would be remiss if I didn't let you talk about your resume. I didn't want to do that because you know far more about it than I do.
Yeah.
So if you want to start off actually with your book, that would be great.
Sure. Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. Of course, I love talking about my book. I loved writing it. And a big part of why I wrote it and a big part of what I'm trying to share with others is hockey. There's a section in my book. I talk about how I grew up playing ice hockey. I grew up without a father. Tragically, my father was killed when I was 4 years old. Mm-hmm. And the sport of hockey really provided this surrogate, father and family through the many coaches and people that I grew up playing hockey with, right down to Mrs. Maygard, she was Coach Maygard's wife and still lives in Kenosha, Wisconsin today, and found out I wrote a book, and she's like, "Oh my God, will you please send me a copy of your book?" And so reconnecting with some people, and I talk about the USA Hockey Level 5 coaching seminar, Lake Placid, New York, the Herb Brooks Arena. I mean, awesome. That's like Mecca, that's incredible to visit that place, to be there with 450 coaches from around the country. And the takeaway and the message I have in my book there is, I went there to become a better hockey coach, and I left there a better husband, a better father, a better employer, somebody who 40 people rely on. I have 40 employees who rely on me to make good decisions. And so just through the entire hockey experience, throughout my entire life, childhood and adult, it's brought great benefit to me. And I just want to share that with other people. And then beyond that, real quick on the book, and then I'll put a dot on it. I believe strongly in leadership. Obviously, the book's titled Elevate Your Leadership. And there's many things that influence leaders. There's many things that help leaders become better over time. Leadership is a practice, like yoga is a practice, like lawyers have a law practice. And then there's practice on the ice. So anyway, I discuss how people can build a foundation in leadership, how you build it, how you maintain it, how you advance it. And then part 2 of the book is all about the health and wellness of a leader. And this goes to my veteran and my military experience, which we'll talk about a little bit with Warrior for Life Fund. But paying attention to health and wellness is so critical. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do. If you want to be good at whatever it is in this world you do, you've got to pay attention to health and wellness. And I share what I learned through the veterans programs regarding brain and heart health and just health and wellness. And I dive deep on it and show people how they can really take charge of their health. And it's not about what the scale says or, this diet or that diet. There's just some general things we all should have learned in 5th grade that we should be doing every day. So that's a quick summary of the book. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to discuss that.
Not a problem. I just want to say thank you because, as I showed, I have a copy of your book. When I started my career here in Ohio, it was my first legitimate management position that I've ever had, and I was kind of going into it with a blind eye, and fortunately I was able to pick up a copy of this, and it has helped me immensely. If you haven't read this book already, even if you don't do anything in a leadership position, this is a book that everybody should read at some point. There's good life advice in here aside from leadership qualities and all of that. It's a good book for anybody to pick up and read, and you can find it on Amazon.com too. If you pick up a copy, give it a read, and make sure you leave them a review too. Just saying.
Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem at all. With that being said, God, this book is so great. I want to get into, you talked about the Warrior for Life Fund, and as I mentioned earlier, you're Navy Special Operations veteran. I really want to hear, being a military guy myself, I really want to hear more about that from you as well.
Yeah, so from one veteran to another, both of which served in the war zone. Thank you very much.
And I echo that as well.
Yeah, there's a brotherhood, there's a whole nother level of brotherhood just based on that, or sisterhood. There's many females that I served with in the war zone that I remember till this day as being, young, brave soldiers.
Absolutely.
So, but Warrior for Life Fund. So the Warrior for Life Fund is a 501c3 that has been created here in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Virginia Beach has the largest concentration. I mean, it's the largest naval base in the world in Norfolk. So Norfolk, Virginia Beach, kind of like Raleigh, Durham, or Minneapolis, St. Paul, or Tampa, St. Pete.
Yes.
And also within our area, we have the largest concentration of special operators. So Navy SEALs, Navy EOD, which is my background, explosive ordnance disposal, and Navy divers. And within that, we discovered, we really meaning the main person who put this together, his name is Ryan Crowley, but others as well. We discovered that military people, especially special operators, we seem to grow up playing hockey. We have this affiliation with hockey. And so Ryan recognized that a long time ago, and he formalized a foundation. And the foundation is called the Warrior for Life Fund, which focuses support to active duty veterans and their families through sport, mainly hockey, and community as they navigate the unique challenges of combat deployments and transitioning to service or transitioning to life, the civilian world after service. And Warrior for Life Fund utilizes an evidence-based and informed approach, creates an enduring environment of fellowship, fitness, and mental cognitive health improvement that has lasting impact to our members, families, etc. And the things we do, like sled hockey, adaptive sport, right? Generically speaking, sled hockey specifically, is kind of one of the foundational programs within Warrior for Life Fund. And the program grows every single year. And Warrior for Life Fund has an incredible relationship with the Boston Bruins Alumni Association. So Frank Simonetti is currently the president of the Boston Bruins Alumni, former defenseman for the Bruins. Yes. And so our organization goes up to Boston a couple times a year. And the Bruins alumni, sometimes with active players and certainly retired players, they come down to Virginia Beach every July. And we hold a big event. We conduct clinics for youth hockey. We bring in the Paralympic USA gold medal hockey team. I think they brought 10 members of their squad this past July.
Nice.
And I own a business called I Fly Virginia Beach Indoor Skydiving. And so amongst all the activities we do, we do on ice and off ice activities. But one of the things we do is fly. And one of the beautiful things that we can do at I Fly Virginia Beach is enable people with disabilities or missing limbs or other ailments to experience the dream of flight. So we had this wonderful experience in the flight chamber. So I think it was 3 years ago. Imagine, flying in the flight chamber with Kevin Miller, who was active. Yeah.
Nice.
He was active 3 years ago, and he's a big supporter of the organization. And him and Brad Marchand are are very close friends.
Yes.
And they have something called March and Milko.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So we receive tremendous support across the board, but really enabled by the two leaders currently in our organizations, which are Ryan Crowley. He's a retired Navy SEAL captain. His career is incredible. This guy has served our country in the absolute highest capacity possible. And he took that skill and that knowledge and that care and that love. And I really want to use that word deliberately. He took that love of his teammates and that love of the sport, and he figured out a way to benefit the greater good. And then Frank Simonetti really took the Bruins Alumni Association full speed ahead with us, and it's been great. And I'm going to pause and catch my breath there.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that was a lot to put out, and I am absolutely mind blown. As you said, to start off from one service member to another, thank you for everything you've done. And I mean, it's truly genuine from one to another. Man, what a career too. It's a lot of stuff, man. I'm surprised you had time to even fit us in.
Yeah. No, this is great.
As far as the Kevin Miller thing, I miss having Millsy on the team. You know, when he was healthy, he was a dominant force on the ice. I'm obviously a huge Brad Marchand fan.
Yeah.
He's my favorite player. That's just incredible. I think everything you guys go out of your way to do to help veterans is absolutely incredible. I know firsthand, and I'm sure you do as well, how difficult the adjustment process back into the civilian world upon leaving the military can be, primarily mentally, on an individual. And I know I struggled a lot. I have a lot of friends that I was deployed with that struggled a lot too. And there's nothing worse than feeling like you don't have that camaraderie anymore and that you're alone in the world trying to figure things out on yourself. And I think hockey is a great way to go about that, because it still brings in those values of camaraderie and someone's always going to have your back.
Well described. And let me just expand on that real quick. Part of Ryan's process of putting this together and formalizing it was kind of what you just said. When we come back, especially from deployments in war, we have this hypervigilance, right? You come back and you know, I say to my wife, "Who left the light on?" You know, you're and hypervigilance is appropriate in the war zone, but it's not appropriate at home.
Correct.
And but it is appropriate on the ice. So
yeah, absolutely.
so what Ryan discovered, amongst the many things, is that hockey was a legitimate outlet for people coming back from deployment, you know, war zone or not. He witnessed firsthand this legitimate outlet for service members and their families, you know, for father-son or father-daughter to be out on the ice together. And so it works in that regard. And I'm just honored and fortunate to, you know, be a part of the organization.
I would say I wish I lived closer, because I would jump on that in a heart. What a great thing to have.
It sounds like a blast.
Yeah. Well, if you guys can make it out here this July, you know, I invite you to participate in some of the events that we're doing. It's a lot of fun.
You don't have to threaten me with a good time. I just want to stress enough real quick, and this is to anybody from the military community who may be watching. You know, we all joke, you know, as veterans, especially those of us who have deployed, that, you know, not everybody sees combat on their deployment. And there's always that joke, well, you didn't have a real deployment, or, you know, I saw more than you. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all good fun. We know whether you see combat or not on a deployment, it still has an effect on you mentally. And it's a different way of living while you're deployed. So to come back, whether you saw combat or not, it's still a tough adjustment process for anybody. So don't be down on yourself and think, oh, I shouldn't feel this way, I didn't see anything. You still got acclimated to a different way of living, and there's still an adjustment process, and it's okay to reach out and ask for help. And that's can tell you
thing. Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good, man. You know, it took me a couple of years myself to realize that it's okay to seek help, and there's people out there willing to help you. You're never alone in the fight. And I think Bob and his organization, I think I mean, that's the best way to go. It incorporate, you're not just helping yourself. It's also making it fun for you too. You're not just going in a room and sitting there with a therapist, reliving horrible memories. This is a better way to overcome those obstacles. So
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So it's really great. I also got to mention Tony Cabana, who, he's a Boston guy as well. And
nice.
he helped put all this whole thing together, and the Navy SEAL Foundation, which we have a very robust relationship with. So just others who are instrumental in making all this happen.
Absolutely. Gotta love the SEALs. They're some of the most badass guys I've ever met in my life. And I've been fortunate enough to actually come across a few of them during my time in the Army. And just different level human beings, but some of the coolest guys you'll ever meet. So with that being said, I do want to talk about some hockey. You got me all fired up now talking about all this with the Bruins Alumni Organization. I can't even tell you how jealous I am. I mean, obviously, don't let the Panthers jersey in the background distract you from the fact that I'm a diehard Boston Bruins fan.
Hey, they finished ahead of the Bruins technically.
Yeah, they sure did. I mean, they had a great season. I love the Panthers. Obviously, I lived in Florida for almost 8 years, so I got a lot of love and respect for the Panthers, but I will always be a Bruins fan. As you see, Brian's got the Bergeron jersey back.
Very nice. Background there. Love it.
So
that's player of all time.
Yeah, a greatest two-way forward to ever play a game. That's my opinion.
He played in the alumni game last year. We went up there. It was Navy SEALs against Bruins Alumni, and it was Bergie's first, or Bergie as they call him. Yeah. It was Bergie's first alumni game, and it was, we were all awestruck. There's just no other way to put it.
Everybody scared to take a face off against him.
We just capitulated that altogether. It's like, anybody go out there and take it because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Guys, 60% career face-off wins. No chance.
Stick blade sawn off by an elite talent.
No, that was a lot of fun. But again, awestruck and honor, and to be done. We play at the Warrior Ice Center, which is the Bruins' official practice facility, and it's a rink. Yeah, it's a rink, and there's lots of activities there, and we got a tour of their clubhouse, so to speak. Down in the bowels of the Warrior Ice Center, and
nice.
But to be across the hall in our locker room from their locker room, and all the activity before and after the game, just interacting, and they're all first class guys, every single one of them, and it's just such an honor to be able to participate and do what we're doing, in our case for the Warrior for Life Fund and for the Bruins alumni and their charities as well. So they have
absolutely.
Yeah. So we, usually these events raise funds for multiple charities.
Right.
And so we meet other awesome people that are not, hockey players either, but just incredible people who support the cause. So it's rewarding. It's, for me, I served for 26 years. So when you leave after 26 years, for a lot of people, that's tough. Like you were saying earlier, Andy, and there's a void that you wonder, man, how am I going to replace that family and that connectivity that I've had for 26, that I built up over 26 years. And Warrior for Life Fund and hockey in general really helps replace it. And in my case, I'm really active with the business community here in Virginia Beach. And so those things really, really help fill the void.
I'm trying to figure out how to word this without sounding like a dummy. For those people that have benefited from this, don't take it for granted. You're so lucky to have that opportunity, and I think it's good for everybody. I just want to echo again, there's something out there to help everybody, so you're never alone. I can't, on behalf of veterans everywhere, I can't thank you enough for everything you have done and will continue to do to help guys, men and women, in the future.
Yeah, no, it's cool, man. It's like I said, I'm blessed to be able to do it.
Absolutely. And to be able to share the ice with some of those Bruins legends, for me, if I even got to share a room with them for 5 minutes, much less share the ice, I don't even know.
Yeah,
I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it.
The year before, I
pass out.
Yeah.
The year before, Big Z played, and it was his first alumni game. And And, you know, and one of the rules for one of the gentleman's rules for these games, you know, because a lot of guys don't wear shoulder pads and there's no checking,
right?
And there's no slap shots. But Chara, you know, he wound up a couple of times like he was going to take one, and he's just deking is all he's doing. But
oh yeah,
you know, I saw him do that wind up, and I was like, I'm getting the hell out of here.
Yeah, beeline for the locker room. I'm out.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful slap shot there is, man. And
yeah,
I sure do miss Char. I miss Bergie. This Bruins team that we have right now is still super fun to watch. But you're
super
always
hot, man. We got guys who are hitting very similar numbers, actually.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So in terms of goals and assists, you know, overall points, and so yeah. So while we miss them, we got some guys that have really filled, really filled in well.
Absolutely. I that does bring me to what I do want to talk about primarily, and Brian's going to chime in now. I know we've kind of been talking military, right?
I didn't really have a dog in the fight. So I didn't
Well, Brian, can you keep it down a little bit, please?
Yeah. I'm trying to be on my best behavior over here.
Yeah. We're going to move on to the result of the Bruins Maple Leafs game 1 from last night, which all three of us watched. Brian's going to have an opportunity now to bring us his side of the show, which is always very good. Brian's full of hockey knowledge, more than I think anyone human could ever hope to be. So let's talk about hockey from last night. The Boston Bruins and Toronto Maple Leafs faced off in game 1 of the Stanley Cup final in the first round. All right, playoffs, not final.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm jumping the gun. Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But and game 1, round 1 of the playoffs, and Bruins ultimately come away with the 5-1 win. Thankfully, it was a very lackluster performance on the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I mean, this has been a team that's been pretty dominant all year, especially with Austin Matthews scoring 69 goals, which I don't want to harp on too much because that's all ESPN sports. That's all everybody's talked about. But I want to get Brian's input here about what you saw last night, what you liked on both ends and what you didn't like.
Well, for what I liked, I mean, first of all, for the Bruins, it was, you know, I talked to you on the phone yesterday, and the last time they played each other in the playoffs, I mean, Chara was still the captain of the team. So there's been a changing of the guard for sure for the Bruins since their last meeting, but it's still kind of the same system of hockey. They've attacked the Leafs mostly the same way they have in previous playoff series. They're a very hard team based on the way they play to beat in a physical game. The Bruins are. So they just stuck to their guns last night. They were tight checking. They were in all the corners, chasing down all the pucks. I thought Jeremy Swayman had a fantastic game for them. Toronto did have a couple of really great chances that he just swallowed up. And I think the only goal the Leafs got was from their fourth line. So for the Bruins, they've just stuck to what's worked for them in the past. Just play a really hard checking game. Don't give Marner, Matthews, Tavares, and Nylander's not playing. Or didn't play last night, but don't give their star players a chance to do what they do best. You know, the Leafs are very, very much a regular season team, if you will, in their ability to be high scoring, but they've always kind of lacked that physical element. And the three guys they got to alleviate that, Domi, Bertuzzi, and Reeves, I didn't think had a great game last night for them. Domi, especially with that careless penalty he took that immediately resulted in a power play goal against. So not the best look for the Leafs last night. And if they have any chance of winning the series, they can't play any more games like that. But for the Bruins, I mean, Jake DeBrusk continues to just kill the Leafs. You know, normally you expect a lot from Pasternak too, but I thought he had a good game and had some good looks. But it was definitely the Jake DeBrusk and Jeremy Swayman show last night for the Bees for sure.
100%. Bob, you want to throw some input here?
I think that was a pretty damn good summary. So you know, maybe ESPN should be reaching out to you, Brian.
Yeah, I'd love to. I would like to be sitting next to Biz and Liam in the booth there.
Yeah, who wouldn't? That'd be a lot of fun. So you know, of note, the hitting. I love the game because there were a lot of hits, hard hits early on. But for the most part, they were good hits. They were legit hits. And, you know, kind of the game of hockey, getting back to the game of hockey.
Right.
And then the goaltending, you know, I don't think the Bruins let it be known that Swayman was going to be in the net until, you know, the puck dropped almost.
Yes.
So I think that was a good kind of strategy, if you will, to kind of get inside the heads of the Maple Leafs. Now on the Maple Leaf side, if they're smart, they're like, hey, it doesn't matter who's in net because they're both top quality, goaltenders, and it doesn't matter who it is. We just got to get out there and play our best game. But like you said, Brian, Swayman had a couple of clutch saves that were just incredible.
Yeah.
And kept that, kept that game from ever really being close. It was never really close.
Yeah.
Hitting, goaltending, and then goaltending on the other side. I think that's a challenge for the Maple Leafs. Even though they got Bertuzzi, Domi, and Austin Matthews, skating that line, you got to have the goaltending's just got to tighten up a little bit. I think there were two that the goalie should have had, but again, it's easy to sit back and say stuff like that. So,
and I agree with you, and I do think additionally that there were times the Leafs left Samsonov out to dry. I mean that you can't. I agree with there was some stuff that he should have had, but I mean the whole team just they didn't perform to the standard I thought they were going to. And granted, I do not want them to perform to a good standard. I want the Leafs to lose the series. But I have this series in my bracket going 7 games because of how dominant the Leafs have been and how crazy good Austin Matthews has been. Granted, they didn't have Nylander last night, but you can't let that make that big of an impact in a game like that. I mean, you're trying to establish in that game 1 what the rest of the series is going to look like, and you can't just blame it on, well, we didn't have one of our star players. Yeah, that does have an effect to an extent, but you can't let that determine the outcome of the entire game.
Yeah.
So a lot of sloppy play on Toronto's end. I'll be ecstatic if they play like that the first 4 games and the series over in 4 games. I'll be thrilled. But at the same time, this is a series that I expect to be long, go 7 games. I expect it to be very physical. These are 2 teams that notoriously do not like each other, and in the last several years has been one of the biggest rivalry in sports because the Bruins and Montreal Canadiens rivalry hasn't really been as strong as it has in the past because the Habs haven't been dominant they haven't been good the last several years, so it's just been kind of like, all right, we're playing the Habs, let's get the dub and move on. But I mean that those Bruins Habs series used to be bloodbaths. I mean, it was always those 2 teams hated each other, and it's just kind of fallen off in the last few years. And I hope it comes back to a point where it's an aggressive rivalry again. But right now, the playoff rivalry between Toronto and Boston is just unmatched by any other sport right now, I think. Granted, that's my personal opinion, but if the Leafs can get it together, this is going to be a brutal series. And I think whoever comes out of it that team's going to be banged up come round 2.
For sure. Those penalties too that Brian mentioned. I mean, especially that first goal, 2-on-1, relatively early in the first period. That probably, mentally that had to really.
That's the tone I felt like for sure. You see the way after Beecher scores and he goes into the corner and him and Boquist celebrate like they just won the cup. I mean, they were feeling it. The crowd was buzzing for sure, and to that point, the Leafs have been guilty of getting suckered into this a lot in the past, and other teams have too, but trying to beat the Bruins at their own game, which is hard checking game, and just crashing the net. And that's not really the Leafs brand of hockey, which I think is ultimately why they got blown out so badly, is you got to stick to what works for you. Toronto's best chances are always, play with speed, draw penalties, and do some damage with your lethal shooters on the power play, and they didn't do that at all last night. So that's if Toronto plays like that, to Andrew's point, it probably will be a 4-game series,
which is fine. That's what we want. But
5. I'll take 5.
You got to give them 1 win in there. You got to make it interesting. At least.
And we want to see a little more hockey, right?
Well, absolutely. And I mean, to you guys, your point about setting the tone early. If you get that TD Garden crowd rocking, it's game over for whoever they're playing. And nothing fires up the crowd at TD Garden like a playoff series between the Bruins and the Maple Leafs. Like I mentioned, it's 2 teams that notoriously do not like each other. And in years past, we've seen it. Everybody's got their kryptonite. And for Toronto, it's Boston. And I'm hoping that still stays true this year. And if that crowd stays loud and the Bruins stay hot, it will be a quick exit for Toronto. So good on them. I have to say too, earlier Brian mentioned, last time they faced each other in the playoffs, Chara was the captain. I still have Patrice Bergeron, but another notable guy worth mentioning that they had on the team was Tuukka Rask was still the goaltender. And Tuukka, contrary to what I've seen a lot of Bruins fans say, Tuukka is one of the best goalies to ever play the game. I don't care what anybody says. That's not my opinion. That's a fact. You can look it up statistically. Yeah, the one year they won the cup with him, he was the backup goalie, and that was the year they decided to make him the backup. But Tuukka is, first of all, he's my favorite goalie of all time, and he's one of the best to ever do it. Winningest goaltender in Boston Bruins history. The guy's got a resume a mile long, first ballot Hall of Famer, if you ask me. To prove how ridiculously obsessed with the Bruins I am, my wife and I have a cat, and his name is Tuukka. So very, very committed to the Boston Bruins in this household. And I should point out, I am not from Massachusetts, born and raised in Kenosha, Wisconsin. I just love the Bruins, man. Yeah, absolutely. So I want to see the Bruins, especially after last season's early exit. That was hard to watch.
That was hard. That was tough.
That's especially when you're up 3-1 in a series like that. But hey, any team can get hot at the right time. Anything can happen to anybody. Yeah. So you just don't know. And that's why I'm such a firm believer of you don't base your playoff run off what happened with all the teams in the regular season, because it's a different animal. And you can see it's a different atmosphere just in the arenas. I think anybody can see that. It's louder. You can feel, literally, even watching from home, you can feel the energy through the TV.
For sure.
It's just a different environment. Everybody's angrier. They're agitated easier. There's nothing like playoff hockey, and there's nothing like Bruins playoff hockey.
Yeah. No, to your point on the energy, they're sold out every time. And over the last few years, we've been to TD Garden a few times, and the energy is unbelievable, even regular season games. But by comparison, our ECHL team here, the Norfolk Admirals, they have a 9,000 seat stadium. And during the regular season, they're selling 2,500, 3,000 seats, something like that.
Right.
They're going through these different evolutions and things like that. But so 3,000 people sitting in a 9,000 seat stadium feels like empty, like crickets, like where's the energy? But you put 3,000 people in a 3,000 seat stadium.
Oh yeah,
through the roof. It's
100%. Yes.
Yeah. So now you make it 18,000 or 19,000, whatever the Garden is, and just absolutely, literally, you can feel the buzz and the vibration.
Absolutely. And to back that statement up, obviously I've been a Bruins fan for a long time. I've only been to Boston one time in my life. My wife and I went to TD Garden in March of 2018, and the Bruins were fighting for first place, and they had to beat Tampa, who they were tied with for first place. And they played Tampa the first game we went to. That was my first ever Bruins game in TD Garden. Cool. We had great seats. It was the most electric atmosphere I've ever experienced in hockey. The Bruins ended up winning that game. They won 4-1, or I think it was 4-2, actually. It's 4-2.
Okay.
It was most electric. Pasternak had a power play goal. The crowd went nuts. Bergeron had this beautiful tic-tac goal. The whole game was insane. And then 2 days later, we sat center ice in the club level. That day, I knew it was going to be a sign of good things to come. We were walking to our seats on the club level, and we just happened to be walking behind Andy Brickley, the Boston Bruins color commentator. I'm freaking out. My wife didn't realize it. And I'm like, that's Andy Brickley. And she's like, what? And I'm like, never mind. And so I called him. I was like, hey, Andy. And he turned around and it was him. And I was fangirling hard. I love Andy Brickley.
Yeah.
And he ended up being the nicest guy. He was like, you could tell he wanted to talk to us. It wasn't just like, oh, great, here's another fan talk. He was engaged in the conversation. He was super nice. He offered to take a picture with us.
That's great.
That was great. I mean, he shook my hand. Just the nice, everything you would hope Andy Brickley is exactly what he is. Just a nice guy, very knowledgeable about hockey. It was so cool. And then the Bruins went on to beat the Panthers that game. So cool. Both games I've seen at TD Garden, they won, and it was in a matter of 4 days. Haven't been back to TD Garden since, but Chris and I are going to try our best to make it happen, because aside from the hockey games, the city of Boston was just an excellent trip. I had so much fun on that trip. And,
tons of fun. So, the Bruins had a goalie. I can't remember the year, and it's going to take me a second to think of his name. I think he played 1 year with the Bruins. Cleon Daskalakis. Does that ring a bell?
I'm gonna have to go to Brian for this. Yeah, I was saying not for me.
That one. It's an awfully Latvian name, though.
Yes, it is.
Latvian or Greek. There's a lot of
I think it's Greek. I think it's Greek.
Okay.
That's a great name, though, man.
Yeah.
Talk about a hockey name.
Cleon Daskalakis. But let me just tell you about Cleon real quick. So he's part of the Alumni Association, and he opened up a club right across the street from the entrance to TD Garden. I think it's called the Legacy Club, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And he hosts events there. And he hosted the Warrior for Life Fund and the Bruins Alumni when we were up there. And just a first-class guy. But he still puts on his gear and he'll play in the alumni games.
That's incredible.
Oh, it's so much fun, just a great part of the overall experience. But if you're ever back there, let me know. And I'll get you vectored into his place, which is that's an experience unto itself, just to visit his place, which is right across the street from Bobby Orr. So,
that's incredible. Love it. And so I should also point out too, when we were there, they had just started building that hub on Causeway where they ended up moving the Bobby Orr statue to. The Bobby Orr statue was still in that little park off to the side of TD Garden, if you know what I'm talking about, that little grass area. Do. So they had just started construction on the hub. So I have not seen it with the hub. Except for on TV. So I really want to see that because I also know they moved the team store to the hub. I got to get back there, man. And
that's a picture. That's a picture unto itself right there. So we just tell you one more. I could tell you all these really cool stories. And again, just
fire away. You're not breaking my heart.
So fortunate. So the first year we played in the alumni game, we actually skated it was Boston Bruins alumni versus the New York Rangers alumni.
Yes.
And Warrior for Life Fund players, we skated with both of those teams. A bunch of us skated with the Bruins, a bunch of us skated with the New York Rangers. It was a 2-game series. We played the first game at Bentley Arena in Boston.
Nice. Yes.
And then 2 days later, we played at Madison Square Garden. And that's the picture that I put up earlier with me holding the New York Rangers microphone.
Yes.
So we're down in the bowels of Madison Square Garden, getting ready to do our little exhibition. But so in that first game, that first year, like I said, I skated with the Bruins. A bunch of us did, and Ray Bork skated that year.
Oh, that's awesome!
You got Ray Bork making a breakout pass to me.
That's incredible. Oh man, the hair on my arms just stood up.
Oh man, it's like that was like I was never so motivated to properly receive a pass and advance the puck.
Yeah. My one shot in life. Don't mess it up.
Exactly right. It's get it, advance it, and then get off the ice before you mess something up. So.
Oh man, I wouldn't even know what to do. I'd be like,
I
don't know.
But that was tons of fun. But you talk about how first class all these professional players are. So I was up there with my family. Most of us took our families with us, and my son at the time was probably 14 or so, and we're leaving the hotel in New York, between Boston and New York. So anyway, we're leaving the hotel in New York, and Chara and Bergeron are staying at the same hotel. The Bruins are staying at the same hotel, and they're getting ready to get on the team bus to go to Madison Square Garden because their NHL game was a couple hours after our alumni game.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so, dressed professionally, they're both wearing suits and looking real good. And I told my son, I was like, hey, go over there and stand by him. And he went over there and stood by him. And I came over and I was like, hey, do you guys mind? And they're like, absolutely. That'd be great. So I have this wonderful picture of Patrice Bergeron, Zdeno Chara, and my son, like I say, who was probably 14 at the time. It's just incredible.
That is, man, dude, that's incredible.
Can I interject here? It's perfect. You mentioned Chara. I had looked down at my phone to check something real quick. So Zdeno Chara ran the Boston Marathon last week.
Yes.
And TSN just posted this. It's a tweet from Steve Hewitt. It says Zdeno Chara, 6 days after running the Boston Marathon, just finished the London Marathon in a time of 3 hours, 11 minutes, and 4 seconds. That's his new personal record. What a legend.
Yeah. The guy takes 8 steps and he's done.
That's unreal. The guy, you almost wonder, could he still play hockey? I mean, if he's moving that like that, holy crap.
No, the guy's in impeccable shape.
A true professional athlete. And I've been at social functions with him where, there's plenty of adult beverage and just all kinds of food that you shouldn't eat, but you're going to anyway.
Right.
And he from my understand, does not consume adult beverages, and he pays really close attention to his athletic health,
Right.
Yeah. A true professional.
Nice. I mean, that's the entire vibe, we'll call it, that he's given off throughout his whole career. Just extremely dedicated to his job. And I mean, that's why he was such a successful captain in Boston. He left a lasting legacy on the organization. And I mean, when someone says Boston Bruins, aside from being a Boston Bruins fan, the first 2 faces that come to my mind are Patrice Bergeron and Zdeno Chara.
Yeah.
I mean, just 2 of the most respected players to ever play the game.
Yeah.
Top of the line.
Let me give you another Chara story. So when, again, 2018, I think it was, when we were touring the clubhouse at the Warrior Ice Center, it was between ice sessions. So most of the players were, somewhere in the clubhouse or the locker room or the sauna or the massage room and, the gym, so, and we were lucky enough to see the whole thing. And Chara walked by and they all stopped and talked to us. It was just so first class and so just, but I asked him why he appears to be the only player in the NHL who doesn't wear a visor.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. And he said that, he got grandfathered and, something along those lines. And but he was, and then to see like his stick on the rack of sticks, it's clearly, you knew.
A foot taller than everyone else.
Yeah, you knew the stick was Chara. I mean, it was obvious. So
yeah, I mean, I've never spoken to the guy in person. I've only been as close to him as standing at the glass during warmups, and he skates by. And even then, when you're standing at the glass, you're a good 4 to 6 inches above the ice in the stands, and he still towers over you. He's just 6'9" is nothing to sneeze at.
No, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Big guy. But I mean, from what I hear, I mean, obviously I've never met the guy, but I hear he's the nicest guy off the ice. Everybody loves him. Obviously on the ice, his teammates loved him. The fans love him.
Yeah.
I can't say enough good things.
I think it was the year before last when he played in the alumni game. We had this little like reception up in kind of above the bleachers at the Warrior Ice Center, and he's up there, signing autographs and talking to anybody, just hanging out like one of the guys, and
that's incredible.
Yeah. So much fun.
I mean, the Bruins organization as a whole, between their charities and their actual organization, they do so much to give back to their community. And that's one of the things I love about being a Boston Bruins fan, is they are very active with their fan base and the community as a whole. And I think that's what makes them such a special organization. I'm jealous of you because of how involved you are with them. I wish I could just live a day in your shoes, but
well, I'm lucky for sure. There were 2 things this past summer. They had a golf tournament fundraiser out on Cape Cod, and that was sponsored by one of their really great sponsors up there called HPI. And so I got to meet a lot of the people in that organization. And then they do another one called Bowl with a Bruin. So a lot of the former players come out, and again, it's run by the Alumni Association. But so at Bowl with the Bruin, we do this big auction. At charity events, oftentimes there's these auctions, and one of the things that's as a matter of fact, I should show you mine. One of the things that's very popular amongst our military community is what's called a blaster's box or a hell box, right? It's symbolic of explosives, explosive force, explosive train. And so we have people that make them, and again, they're highly engraved. And so we had one made. I took it up to both. We had 2 made. I took one to the golf tournament, one to Bowl with the Bruin, and we auctioned the box off. And in the box, it's hinged, so it opens up, and the inside usually a nice like velvet inlay. And then there'll be this wonderful holder for like 4 shot glasses and room for your favorite bottle of whatever.
That's incredible.
And then on the outside, like for this one we made, and I wish I've got pictures, I'll get them to you, but there's like all the Bruins Stanley Cups was engraved on one side. Did you visit the Constitution when you were there, the USS Constitution?
We did not.
Okay. So
it was just because we ran out of time.
Yeah. It's walking distance from TD Garden. But a friend of mine here, who's a retired Navy SEAL, who does all this wonderful wood and metal fabrication, he's got wood from the USS Constitution. Actually, where is mine? Right here. So this is a piece of wood from the USS Constitution, and he made it into these coins.
Nice.
So and so this coin was attached to the side of the Blasters box.
That's
one
awesome.
Of the other things. And then the Warrior for Life Fund logo. And so these things are really cool to have as like trophies, and we really try and get the price up there for them.
Absolutely.
So at the golf tournament, things went pretty well. We got a really good bid. And I was as the bomb guy, as the EOD guy, I went up and described the blaster box and the history of it, the tradition of it, and went back up for Bowl with the Bruin. Well, during the auction phase of Bowl with the Bruin, Ray Bork usually runs the auction. And then for specialty items, like, I got up there for the blaster box, and there was somebody else who got up there for something else. But I got up there for the blaster box. Now, Ray Bork is a professional auctioneer. Hey, I got one over there. I got one over there. Do I hear two? Do I hear? I got two. I got two. He's like a pro, man. He's doing the whole thing. And I'm just up there kind of fumbling my way through it. Hey, so here's the history of the box. All right, I'm going to start out at 1,000. Who's got 1,000? And Ray come up, put his arm around my shoulder, and started helping me auction that thing off. It was the absolute coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, that's it. Oh my God. Man, this whole episode so far has just been nothing but the best stories you will ever hear in your life. Yeah. I'm so glad that we're doing this. Yeah. Before we go any further, we do have to take a pause here because we do have sponsors we have to shout out. So let's do that real quick. First and foremost, as always, Fresh Ice is brought to you by Xenopucks. I'm not sure that anybody can actually read that because my lighting's
it's not focusing off your light well, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. The puck's engraved. It says Xenopucks on it. I promise it's there. Xenopucks make a high-quality off-ice practice puck. It's not made out of rubber. To this day, it's a trade secret as to what they make it out of, but it is the same weight and size as a regulation hockey puck. It's designed for off-ice use on virtually any surface. You can use it on asphalt, concrete, carpet, tile, hardwood floors. Maybe don't do it on your nice hardwood floors, but hey, I can't tell you how to live your life. But it's great if you just want to get out there and practice your stick handling or your shot, because ice time's not always an option. Sometimes you can't squeeze it in. Sometimes it's not available. And this is good if you just want to go out in the garage or the driveway and practice. This is where it's at. Warning though, it does fly off the pipe like a real puck, so pay attention there. I don't recommend using it for a game because it's pretty hard. It doesn't feel too good to get hit by it. Not that getting hit by a regular hockey puck does feel good, but
I was gonna say
it is still, if you're using something like a green biscuit or you're looking for something a little better, stop looking because this is it. I don't know that there's a better off-ice puck on the market right now. So head over to xenopucks.com and get yourself a puck and check out their merch selection. Even if you're not a hockey player, they still have some really cool stuff over there. And be sure to follow them on Instagram at Xenopucks. Brian.
That's right. And
you're muted, buddy.
I'm not.
Uh-oh.
I got you. I can hear you.
I would say I think
you guys are both muted. I don't know what happened.
I think it's Andrew.
I can't hear you guys at all. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I'm going to remove Andrew from the stage while he's having his troubles there. So yeah, we all know hockey sticks are expensive, and if you're practicing off the ice with a Xenopuck, you're going to probably want something to protect the blade of your stick. Thankfully, our friends at the Hockey Wraparound have figured that out for you. What they sell is a myriad of products. Of course, they have things like tape, equipment drying racks. They sell their own apparel. Their premier product is their hockey stick blade wraparound. I believe it's a vinyl piece that just wraps around the blade of your stick. It's going to protect the blade and the tape on your stick from damage from things like concrete and asphalt and such. So listen, if you're practicing off ice, these two are a perfect pair for each other. Visit our friends at the Hockey Wraparound. HockeyWraparound.com/fresh ice and use the code FreshIcePod. Get you 15% off your order. And now, do we have Andrew back?
Apparently not.
Not yet. We don't. So,
all right.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's okay. We'll keep going. So I guess we'll have to get him back in here because I do have a question I want to ask both of you guys since you're military. But did you have a chance to catch any of the New York Islanders in the Carolina Hurricanes game that played yesterday afternoon?
I didn't. I saw that the Canes won, and I didn't even get a chance. I didn't catch the game, and I didn't get a chance to catch highlights. But I'm not surprised at all that the Canes won that game. What are your thoughts there?
Well, so we did our preview show on Friday night, and my big thing is that both of these teams play a very similar style of hockey. They're both very much they're usually low event games, score first, shut down the other team, make it hard for them to even get a chance. And when we talked about them, I mentioned that Carolina did all the things New York does just better because they have better players and so on. And I think that was kind of what that game felt like yesterday. They both were tight checking. There wasn't a ton of space. And ultimately it was a pretty close game till the end. And yeah, it was. And for the Hurricanes, Evgeny Kuznetsov gets his first playoff goal as a Cane, which is really good developing story for him after coming over from Washington with all the troubles he had earlier in the year. So really good for him. But yeah, Carolina, a really great start to that series. I thought Freddie Anderson was fantastic for them. As I mentioned in our preview show, he was going to need to be. So I thought he was really good. I thought Varlamov was great for the Islanders too. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough to get them the win.
Who do you like in the series?
Carolina for sure.
Okay. In 7?
I actually had them in 5. I kind of took a shot in the dark here and thought they might be able to run away with this one.
Andrew
is back. Okay, good.
Yeah, I could hear. So I found out what happened in my whilst talking with my hands, as I often do. I managed to unplug the cord connecting my headphones to my mic, so everything was where I just couldn't hear anything. So it wasn't your end. I'm just dumb. That's all right. But I agree. I actually have the Hurricanes in 5, I believe. It was either 5 or 6. I know I don't have it going 7. But I think between how good, and I couldn't hear half of what Brian said till I got my headphones fixed. So if I'm being redundant here, please let me know. But I think between how good Freddie Anderson has been lately, there's just
Brian mentioned that.
I said I wouldn't know. Freddie Anderson's just been
it's worth repeating.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, you got Jake Gensel and Kuznetsov, which I'm sure Brian also mentioned.
Yeah, I did mention Kuznetsov. Boy, that had to feel good for him, though. I mean, it was like 2 minutes into the game. They draw the power play. 12 seconds into the power play, he gets it in the faceoff circle and just rips it upstairs. I mean, that had to feel like the weight of the world off of his shoulder, given everything he has gone through.
Absolutely. And he's been such a good fit. Like I mentioned in my previous episode, he's been such a great fit down there. So I see when his contract is up, which is not this year. I think he's got 2 years left on it, doesn't he?
Yeah, that sounds right.
He's got 2 years on it. I think he stays in Carolina as long as he performs to standard, but he's been such a good fit there. I think it's a good spot for him to stay. Jake Gensel has also been an unreal acquisition for Carolina. I mentioned this before too. I don't see him staying, even if they do win the cup. I think he tests free agency, but I definitely think Carolina's the favorite in this series, no question.
Yeah, and for Jake Gensel too, I don't believe we touched on this on Friday night show. Jake Gensel set an NHL record for points by a trade deadline acquisition. I think the stat line was he had 25 points in 17 games. So, and he is a UFA. His contract is up at the end of the season. So, it'd be interesting to see where he goes, but he's been fantastic for them too. Since I got both of you guys here, Andrew, I can't believe I've never asked you this, but you're both military. I want to know, in your time serving, were either of you ever given a challenge coin?
Oh yeah, Bob. I'm sure Bob has about 10 million of them in his house somewhere.
I'm going to angle my camera here.
Okay, let's see.
Oh man,
got a couple.
Yeah. Holy shit. Holy shit.
Wow.
That's my face is right in my microphone now too. So it's probably pretty loud, but
that's okay.
That's all right.
I got to tell you, Bob has far more than I do. I think I have 4. Bob also had a far longer career in the military than I did, and far cooler for that matter. But yeah, and you can get them. It's not just combat ops that you get challenge coins for. There's a multitude of things you can get a coin
everything.
for.
And you know what? Let me just show you real quick. Shoot, where is it? So I've got. Well, you know what? I've got my own personal challenge coin, and I'm going to put those in the mail for you guys.
Oh, that's incredible.
I can't believe I don't even have my own challenge coin on my challenge coin rack. So, because I wanted to show it to you. But anyway, it's I Fly Virginia Beach, my current business on one side, and then it's the Navy EOD badge on the back side.
Awesome.
So, nice. 2 things that are real symbolic. But to answer your question, yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sure seems that. The reason I ask is I'm a huge fan of the TV show NCIS. I've been watching it since I was a young kid, teenager, and I remember them mentioning it the first time in a show, and I'm like, "What the hell's a challenge coin?" And then after Andrew started serving, I'm like, "I'll have to ask him if he's ever gotten one." And I mean, you're my brother. I talk to you every day, and I just never remember to do it. And it finally clicked all at the right time. So.
I was like, I've been out of the Army for 10 years now.
Yeah, I know exactly. So I just keep dropping the ball. But I think this is a perfect time to ask now that I had 2 guys that served on here.
There we go. So since you asked, and careful asking me questions because I can talk until tomorrow about stuff.
That's okay. I can too.
Yeah.
But so Warrior for Life Fund.
There it is.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's our Warrior for Life Fund coin.
That's
and the logo is very symbolic. There's a trident, which is Navy SEAL. There's the trident crosses a hockey stick.
Nice.
That's cool as hell.
And
That's
then
awesome.
the wrists cross each other as in teammates, being there for each other.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then 13 stars, original 13 colonies.
Yes.
And face off for heroes on the obverse. What do you call that? It's like you got the reverse and the obverse or whatever they call it. So
I think you're right.
Yeah. So whatever side of the coin that is, face off for heroes is what we call our alumni game.
Yes.
Which is really cool. And then from Frank Simonetti himself, the president of the Boston Bruins Alumni. But what's really cool,
incredible.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Oh, that thing's pretty sharp. Holy
that is cool.
Yeah. So these are, in the hockey world, these are the prized possessions.
Those are both incredible. I love them both. Man, I'm also digging the jerseys in the background too.
I love that retro Bruins jersey. That thing is sharp too.
I'm liking the Warrior Fund or the Warrior jersey in the background. That thing is really nice. I see it's got the Bruins logo on it too.
It does. A lot of symbology in that we have Operation Hat Trick, which is another foundation on one sleeve, and then Navy SEAL Foundation on the other sleeve. And like you said, the Bruins logo across the back, the lower side of the back, it says Warrior for Life Fund, all spelled out. And there's one other thing.
So I'm gonna make Bob bigger on the screen here real quick. I'm so blind I can barely see. So let's pull up this. Now I can see the other jersey better. I mean, I was able to pull the Bruins jersey out because it's such an iconic design. Now I can see the better. Okay.
Yeah. You're gonna scare people with this full shot of me, but
it's easier to see.
They look at us every week.
Faces. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say. Listen, they've been watching us. They'll be just fine.
What's crazy is they've been watching us and they keep coming back. So
that's awesome.
Pretty lucky.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
So one of the things when the Bruins come down every summer, we play a memorial game, and so the jerseys are made each year based on who we're memorializing, and it's we've had we've had heavy hits throughout the entire last 20 years, 20 some odd years, if you will, but we had some really close losses lately. One of our teammates' wives, who was a very active hockey mom and a very active, what we call ombudsman. So somebody who represented all the other wives with the command or, whatever military unit the husbands were assigned to, or the spouses were assigned to. And her name is Kathy, and unfortunately she passed away kind of suddenly from cancer.
So
we had the Kathy Mitchell Memorial Game.
Nice.
That was back in November, I believe. And so I actually had the absolute honor of coaching her daughter for a couple of years of high school hockey. And, so that's all part of the extended family, if you will. The other thing I'll add to that particular game, that's the last time I put my skates on, and that was last November. And we were playing against an Army team. Actually, this weekend, we're playing that same team up in Springfield, Virginia.
Nice.
And so I'm kind of keeping my eye on that as well. I'm not up there, obviously. And I haven't put my skates on since I think it was November of last year. Just got some lower back issues and had a surgery a while ago, and it's just become tougher and tougher to lace up. But in that game against those Army guys who were really good, there were like 5 minutes left in the game. My line's on the ice. I'm on the post. The puck makes its way to like mid slot, and my teammate at mid slot, I figure he's going to fire it at the net. So I turn around, face the net, look for a rebound. Well, he missed the net and he hit me right in the lip. The puck just came in under my visor, and so that took a little while to heal up. So
now,
good thing it wasn't a Zeno puck. It really would have hurt.
That would have done some damage for sure.
I don't want to take this anywhere. So, fun story about getting hit with one of these. I brought it with me.
You're gonna tell it? Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, Brian knows right where I'm going with this. We went to Nashville back at the beginning of March with a couple of our buddies. Shout out to Ron and Angel because I know they're watching. We all took a group trip to Nashville to see the Predators play the Avalanche. And if you've never been to a Predators game in Nashville, you need to. It's incredible. But in the Airbnb we stayed in, I brought it with because Brian and I had initially planned to do a show together in Nashville. There's a long story about what happened there that I won't get into. But my buddy and I decided,
story was mostly just Andrew getting drunk.
Yeah, my buddy Angel and I, that's not what happened. But my buddy and Angel and I decided to start kicking this around to each other at the Airbnb. Well, I decided to do that with no shoes on, and it hit me directly in the ball of the foot. And it wasn't even hard. It did not feel good, though. And it was bruised afterwards for like 2 days. I still felt it when I was walking. So, yeah, You do not want to get hit by this thing anywhere. I don't care how hard it is. It doesn't feel good, but it's for the purpose of off-ice training. Again, it's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Very nice. And to your point, Brian, I think when you were talking about, the hockey stick and training in the backyard and all that, I mean, I coached for 12 years, last 4 years were high school, and you develop more skills, quite honestly, any great hockey player, that you develop more skills in the backyard or the basement, over time than you do on ice. I mean, ice time is limited. It's all there is to it. And you don't need to be on the ice to develop all those, soft hands and stick handling skills and a powerful shot, regardless whether you're just taking a wrister, a slap shot, or shovel, whatever it is, you develop all that in the backyard as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's where it all starts. I mean, a lot of people that started off playing hockey, you don't start off on the ring. You start in your backyard, your back patio with a little
driveway, mom can move the car.
$30-$40 net from Dick's Sporting Goods or whatever. Well, I don't know what they cost now, but I mean, everybody starts the same. I mean, some people make some pretty insane backyard rinks too.
We did. I grew up with one in my neighborhood at the Hartley's house. They would make an awesome rink in the wintertime, and we lived like 3 blocks away on 2nd Avenue.
Yeah.
And you guys familiar with that part of town down there?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So 2nd Avenue, if you're going north, it curves and spits out onto 3rd, and right on that curve is where the Hartleys lived. And probably still do. I don't know, but they would freeze a rink every year.
That's awesome.
And I would skate from my house right down the middle of the street to their house. And that's pretty much where I learned how to skate. And that was my introduction to hockey.
That's
Andrew and I didn't get into hockey till our adult lives, but the backyard of the house we grew up in would not have really allowed for a backyard rink.
Yeah,
we had a big hill in our backyard, so that would have been more like a ski slope than a hockey rink.
Yeah, a little toboggan action.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not suitable for a hockey rink unless you count the times when the bricks froze over on the patio.
Yeah,
during the winter.
I tried to go out there when it would ice over, but it just. I mean, there wasn't much room, so
yeah, it's not the same. But nevertheless, I've seen some really cool backyard rinks in my day. If you're a Bruins fan, there's a special that the Bruins do every season called Brick's Backyard Rinks, and it's run by Andy Brickley. You get an opportunity to see some really cool ones there too. So if you're not a Bruins fan, check that out. But we're past that point in the season already, so you got to wait till next year.
That's cool.
All right,
man. That's awesome. What do you guys? So it's 12 o'clock Eastern. I think it's a 12:30 puck drop, right? For
Florida and Tampa.
That's I know Andrew's probably itching to go. I mean, God, I could go.
Well, I'm not itching to go. I'm enjoying every second of this.
Yeah.
If I got to miss the start
of the game.
Not
itching to go, but I know you want to watch. I know you're ready to run through a wall.
That's definitely a game to watch. Too. What do you think about that one?
So we're kind of, Brian and I are different on this one. I think we're in agreement that it's going to go 7 games, but I'm saying Panthers on this one, and it's not because I'm a Panthers fan. I mean, I am, but I just think Florida has the edge over Tampa this year. But Brian brought up some good points to where, Vasilevsky in the playoffs is a different animal. And while the Panthers have had an outstanding goalie tandem this year in Anthony Stolarz and Sergei Bobrovsky, Bobrovsky in the playoffs, he's either stands on his head or everything's going by him. There's no in between. So it's going to largely depend on what kind of Bob we get during the show or during the playoffs. And
we have Bob Pizzini for the show.
Well, we have Bob for the show, but I meant Bob for the show.
Yeah,
what
Bob for hockey. Yeah. To that point, I definitely took Tampa for my bracket. I mean, they've been playing extremely well lately. They're one of the hottest teams in the league, and Vasilevsky has gotten his groove. And now I say all that to say that I want Florida to win because Andrew and his wife are Panthers fans. So I'm certainly cheering for the Panthers. But when I did my bracket, I did my best to pick with my brain and not my heart. Cause I'm like, God, if I was, my wife likes Vegas a lot too. We're Wild fans, but she really likes Vegas too. And so I'm like, if I was picking with my heart, it'd be Vegas Panthers Stanley Cup final rematch.
Yeah.
But, yeah. That's discipline there. If you can separate your brain from your heart.
It's difficult. When I filled out my bracket last year, I'm like Wild and 4 all, every series.
Of course.
But, that didn't work out quite that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it'll be Wild and 5 on your next one.
Yeah. Let's assume they make it next year.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Let's get through it next season first.
I was gonna say, I'm not a Wild fan, but I did have high hopes for them here towards the end of the season. I was hoping they were going to make a good push and pull in, mostly for Brian because Brian's a Wild fan.
They had such a bad start to the season. That was their downfall ultimately.
Quick story on Coach Cooper, John Cooper. So the Norfolk Admirals, again, our local ECHL team. They used to be AHL. Their last year of AHL was 2012. Coach Cooper was their coach, and they won the Calder Cup. And then he went to the NHL the next year.
and look at him now.
Yeah.
He got 2 Stanley Cups to his name, 3 appearances. So
he won. I think that was only his second year coaching too. I remember when he joined the NHL, they talked about how successful he had been as a minor hockey league coach, but then his second full season in Tampa Bay, they were in the final against Chicago. I know they didn't win and they had injury troubles, but he's really not had a bad season in Tampa Bay. He really is an outstanding coach.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you can argue. We'll sit here and argue all day, the 2 COVID cups that Tampa has. They're not real cups, whatever. The point remains the fact that those were still 2 really good Tampa Bay Lightning teams under John Cooper, who is still one of the greatest coaches ever. Yeah. So regardless that the cups may have not been legitimate, you could argue, the teams were still unreal.
Yeah.
Listen, he took him to 4 finals. He's got to be doing something right,
Yeah, I would say the guy's nothing to sneeze at. He's an outstanding coach. He's in the position he's in for a reason.
Yeah. He's got a great story too. He was one of the guest speakers at that Level 5 USA Hockey coaching seminar I went to in Lake Placid.
Yeah,
and he was I think he said he was an attorney in his previous life.
Yeah,
and one of his clients had a kid who wasn't very good at hockey, I shouldn't say that. Whatever reason, he wanted John Cooper to give this kid some private lessons, and he did. And John Cooper's like, "What am I doing being an attorney? Like, I want to be part of the game."
Right. Yeah.
So it's a pretty cool story all the way around.
That's
one thing worthy of mention that we didn't talk about, and it's bad on me, is talking about the Lightning and talking about the Big Rig, who is now on the fourth line with the Bruins, right? So
yes. And, it's great because I saw people before the game, primarily Toronto Maple Leafs fans. Oh, yeah, I'm sure his 3 minutes of ice time is going to make difference. Well, guess what?
Like Revo's not playing 4 minutes a night,
Oh, guess who also had an assist last night? Big
Rig. That's right.
Guess who also threw somebody into the bench last night? Big Rig. I mean,
and it was a good hit. No penalty on that one.
I've always had nothing but respect for Pat Maroon. I've never liked him because he's always played for teams I don't like. But the guy won 3 Stanley Cups in a row, one with St. Louis, 2 with Tampa. There's something to be said for that. And he is a well-respected. They call him Big Rig for a reason. Yeah. I was interested to see when we picked him up how the relationship was going to be on the team, because him and Brad Marchand in the past. Well, I don't need to go too deep into that. I think everybody knows.
Yeah. Well, at least they're on a different line.
they're on a different line, but they've gotten along really well from what I've seen.
Because I think wasn't Bertuzzi on the same line?
Bertuzzi was on.
By the way, Andrew mentioned on a Friday night show, Andrew thinks Tyler Bertuzzi kind of looks like every criminal ever.
Yeah, only this season though.
They showed him on the broadcast last night. He looks tired, man. He looks like he's been going through it this year. I don't know, and he's had a pretty good season in Toronto, but he has. He looks like he just got in a fight 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, I made a joke that after the series is over, he's going to go in the parking lot and slash everybody's tires, but that's just because of how he. But I mean, he's obviously not a bad guy, and his teammates love him.
No, so, he's a tough guy to play against, and he's a pain in the ass.
He is. He's a very talented player.
Yeah, aggressive.
And I was happy when we did have him last year. I'm still very heartbroken about the way the season ended last season in the first round against Florida. I wouldn't be if it was a close series, but to be up 3-1 in a series like that and then go into game 5 and lose, it's just a game 5 on home ice and lose and then let them come back. It's just rough.
Yeah. And then didn't Florida get eliminated in the next round?
No, they got eliminated. They went all the way to the final.
Oh, they did. Oh,
yeah. They went all the way to the
final. Toronto and then Carolina.
Yeah.
But Vegas smoked them.
Yeah. For the Bruins too, the thing that made it even tougher was in game 5, Brad Marchand had a breakaway with like 5 seconds left in the third. That would have been the game-winning goal had he scored it. That would have closed the series right there. But Bobrovsky stopped it, and the rest was history.
Yeah. Wow.
It's tough, but I stand behind my team.
Talk about how crazy this game is. I mean, we make all our predictions at the start of the playoffs and simple things like that. I mean, everybody had the Bruins in that series. One bounce goes your way. They get a save in game 5, and that saved their season. So we make all these predictions, but the sport is so wildly unpredictable, and I think that's the best part about it.
Yeah. But that's what we love about it, too. So that being said, go ahead, Bob.
Well, I was going to say, I think on average, if I remember from my USA hockey coaching clinic, the puck changes direction like every 1.2 seconds or something like that, So
yes.
Yeah. So, and that gets to Gretzky's thing, you got to figure out where it's going to be, and that's where you go. And you're doing that every second.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh man. Well, it's anyone's game all the time.
Yeah.
Before we go, I do want to give you one more chance to shout out anything you'd like, whether it be iFly or your book or anything, or the Warrior for Life Fund. Please take this opportunity.
Yeah. So that I will definitely shout out Warrior for Life Fund one more time. If listeners, if you want to participate or contribute to the Warrior for Life Fund, if you want to help veterans, and I'm talking people who are, serving this country at the highest level, and with that, face some of the greatest challenges when we come back to the private sector. Check out Warrior for Life Fund, hit that donate button. Check out our events and come to an event and meet and greet and talk to us and talk to our players and talk to our kids, and just really see what a wonderful community exists for the sole purpose of helping military families deal with the difficulties of military life is kind of really to simplify it. But Warrior for Life Fund, we've got a great website, You can hit donate. You can check out our events. You can, plan on you can plan on a trip to our rink. Iceland is our rink in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I forgot to mention Rich and Vicky Appleby, who operate our ice rink and who were instrumental in the developing Warrior for Life Fund and support us in so many ways through our pickup games and all the different things that we do. And so please check out Warrior for Life Fund. Go to the website, go to the Facebook, whatever. Actually, you can go on Facebook and you can see our team playing up in Springfield, Virginia right now. So Jamie Pastorik, retired Navy media person. He runs all the media for Warrior for Life, and he's up there handling all that right now. And that's really the only thing I'd like to mention is Warrior for Life Fund. Check out our website and please make a donation.
And I will have information, I should say we will have information regarding the Warrior for Life Fund on all of our social media pages. So make sure you follow them on social media, which Warrior for Life Fund, as Bob mentioned. And you can follow us on social media. Facebook is just Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast. And Instagram, you can follow the show on Instagram at Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast. And you can also follow Brian on Instagram at Brian Fresh Ice. Make sure you also check out our website, freshicehockeypodcast.com. Moving forward on the show, whether we're live or not, I'm going to, unless somebody stops me, I'm going to continue to talk about and advertise completely on my own accord for the Warrior for Life Fund. I think.
Thank you so much.
I can't. No, thank you. I can't even begin to say on behalf of veterans everywhere and the hockey community, what Warrior for Life Fund is doing is just that there's not even words to go out of your way that much to help veterans through such a great program is just absolutely incredible. And the veteran community is very lucky. So, I mean, on behalf of myself as a veteran and a Boston Bruins fan, to you and the Boston Bruins organization and the Warrior for Life Fund, I cannot say thank you enough for everything you guys have done and will continue to do moving forward for not just veterans, but for the hockey community as a whole as well. Just absolutely incredible. And I cannot thank you enough for agreeing to be on our show. This has been fun. It's been fun. It's exactly what I wanted it to be.
Who doesn't like talking about hockey?
Yeah, exactly. And, I'm sure Brian's got a couple of things he wants to say before I close out the show. So I'm going to let him say that too.
Just a couple of things real quick. First and foremost, Bob, absolutely. Thank you for coming on. It was cool for me. Andrew is not one that really talks too much about his career in the military. So it's kind of fun to hear him sort of talk shop about what he did. It was kind of nice to see somebody that could bring that out of him and who also served. So thank you for your service as well. And I just think it was really cool to have you on. It was such a different outlook on life that you have compared to, I mean, we just had our friend Ben on the other night, and it's just cool having two so very different guests, but we're all still tied together because we all love hockey. So I think it was fantastic to have you on. And I think it's great what you do for veterans. And as somebody who's I didn't serve myself, of course, but we have a lot of military in our family. So it's always great to see that there's programs and people out there who care about the people that defended our country. So, so thank you for that, Bob. Absolutely. And as far as our show is concerned, we didn't do any tough looks of the week this week from Lightings. We will get to those on Wednesday. Andrew and I have some tough looks of the regular season that we'll address.
Yes, we do.
But that'll be probably a longer segment, and I don't want to take any more of Bob's time, and I know Andrew wants to watch the Panthers. So we'll get to those soon. Only other thing, I guess, if you want to follow me on Twitter as well, or X, it's at Brian Fresh Ice, just like my Instagram handle. But Bob, thanks a million times again for coming on. It was a blast to hear some of your stories and see the things you do.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. And well, after I end the show here, we'll talk a little bit more. But I do want to go ahead and wrap it up real quick before we go. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe. Help us grow our audience. Help us grow the channel. YouTube is the hardest to grow. Yes. We're also trying to grow the social media pages as well. So make sure you're following us everywhere to make sure you stay up to date on the show. And last but not least, in regards to Bob, before everybody stops watching this show, if you are someone who works in a management, or if you're in the military and you're a non-commissioned officer or an officer, whatever your line of work is, even if you're not in a leadership position, head over to Amazon.com, get yourself a copy of Elevate Your Leadership. It's written by Bob. As you can see, he's one of the coolest people you will ever meet. This book has helped me. Without trying to, for lack of a better word, this book has helped me so much in my career, in the line of work I do. I'm not going to broadcast that publicly right now. But it is a leadership role. And this book, like I said, even if you're not in a leadership role, is good for anybody to pick up and read. There's a lot of good life advice in here. And Bob, I hope to sit down and discuss this book with you at some point too, because I learned a lot from it and it's helped me a lot. So
thank you. Happy to anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, thank you to all of our sponsors, and thanks to Bob for coming on the show. Brian and I will see you on Wednesday, and we're looking
your
forward
questions in too. Contact at freshicehockeypodcast.com or leave them in the YouTube comments. But
yeah, especially get those questions in, because we're going to do the tough look and the questions. So with that being said, I think we're about done here. Go Bruins, go Panthers. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. Take care.
Thanks,
Comb your hair. Take care.